All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a masterclass on how to sell sophisticated AI. And look, this isn't your average sales guide. This is a playbook for a whole new world, selling a product that can literally think. I mean, that's the real question, isn't it? When you're not just selling features on a screen, but a complex, intelligent system, well, the whole conversation has to change. You're not just selling a tool, you're selling trust, you're selling a transformation, and you're selling a totally new way of working. Okay, so let's get right into it. You can forget about those endless feature demos for a second. Success in AI sales really just boils down to mastering a 4-stage playbook. And each stage is its own unique conversation, designed to take your prospect from just being curious to becoming a real partner. Let's start. First up, we have discovery. And this is your foundation. Your very first call is not a pitch. Let me say that again. It is not a pitch. It's a deep investigation. You got to be a consultant, maybe even a detective, trying to find the real, measurable business problem that's hiding just under the surface. A great discovery call, well, it moves way past the obvious stuff. A prospect might tell you, hey, our support team is just overwhelmed. Your job is to dig in. Okay, why are they overwhelmed? What's the real impact of that? Is it because their average response time is 6 hours? Are they just completely dark after hours? You have to get to that root cause before you can even think about proposing the right solution. So what does a really good discovery look like? Well, it means you're asking these fantastic open-ended questions that get a real conversation going, not just a yes or a no. It's about finding pain you can actually put a number on, a metric you can promise to make better. But honestly, most importantly, it's about active listening, not just waiting for your turn to talk, but really hearing them. You do that, and you end the call with clear next steps everyone agrees on. You've absolutely nailed stage 1. All right, so you've had a fantastic discovery call. What's next? Well, you're almost certainly going to face the gauntlet, a whole series of tough questions and objections. But hey, don't fear this stage. This is where the real selling starts, and it's probably your single biggest chance to build deep, real trust. So here's the key. You have to totally reframe how you think about objections. When a prospect raises a concern, they're not trying to shut you down. They're basically handing you a gift. They are telling you exactly what's important to them and what you need to solve for. Let's look at a few of the most common ones you're going to hear when you're selling AI. Yep, this one is almost always the first, and it is the most critical hurdle. Data is everything, right? And with AI, it can feel like a bit of a black box. You absolutely cannot stumble on this answer. You need a confident, clear, and really well-practiced explanation of all your security protocols and how you handle their data. You know, what's really behind this question is just a deep-seated fear of disruption. I mean, nobody wants to sign up for a project that's going to derail their team for the next 6 months. So your response here has to tackle that fear head on. You need to talk about your simple onboarding process, your support team, and give them a realistic timeline. And here it is, the reliability question. This one goes right to the heart of whether they can trust AI. A great answer isn't just saying, oh, don't worry, it's accurate. No way. It's about explaining the safety nets, the human-in-the-loop processes, and how the AI is actually trained and fine-tuned to make sure it sounds exactly like their brand. Having a structured approach here is going to be your best friend. A great one is the hear method. You really hear their concern, you empathize with their position, you ask clarifying questions, and only then do you respond. Whatever you use, the goal is the same. Acknowledge the concern, back it up with a real customer story, and then pivot right back to the value they actually care about. Handling all those objections builds perfectly into our third stage, the solution presentation. So you've uncovered their pain, you've built trust. Now it is time to connect all those dots and tell a really compelling story where your AI is the hero they've been waiting for. Now, this is so important. If you could give your presentation to any other company, you've already failed. Every single slide, every talking point has to be a direct answer to a pain point you found in that discovery call. You're not just showing what your product does, you're showing them exactly what it's going to do for them. And this is the power of that customization right here. You don't just talk about improvements, you show them. You put their current reality right next to the future state you can deliver. You take that 6-hour response time and show them what less than 1 minute actually feels like. This makes the ROI tangible, visual, and just incredibly powerful. It's not a theory anymore. It's their transformation. This 5-step structure is your roadmap to a killer presentation. And notice the flow here. You start by recapping their challenges. You're proving you listened before you ever start talking about your solution. And that earns you the right to present your AI as the specific answer. From there, you make it real with a timeline and an ROI, and then you make it super easy for them to say yes with a clear next step. So you got the yes for a pilot. Awesome. But hold on, you're not at the finish line yet. This final stage is often the most complicated. Building a concrete, achievable plan together. This is where you really shift from being a salesperson to being a collaborative partner who's building their success story. You know, the person who loves the idea of efficiency gains might not be the same person who has to manage the budget or handle the security review. In this stage, you're more of a facilitator, bringing all these different departments together and getting them aligned around a shared vision for what a successful pilot looks like.
A pilot scoping session is always a big balancing act. You've got your IT stakeholder over here who's almost entirely focused on security and integration. Then you have the head of support who wants immediate efficiency gains. And of course, finance needs to see a clear path to ROI. Everyone has a different top priority, and your job is to stand right in the middle and find that common ground that makes everyone happy.
A successful pilot really comes down to proactive planning. Before you even start, you have to work together to define what success looks like in clear, measurable terms. You got to set realistic timelines and get ahead of any data or integration needs so you don't have delays later. This isn't just a checklist, it's the blueprint that turns a risky pilot into a guaranteed win.
So we've walked through these 4 key conversations. Now let's pull it all together and look at this as one single, unified playbook for selling AI the right way.
Just look at how each of these stages flows so logically into the next. You can't tell a tailored story if you haven't discovered the real pain first. You can't scope a great pilot if you haven't navigated their objections. This isn't just a collection of tactics, it's a seamless journey that guides your prospect from being uncertain to having a successful transformation. And this really is what it all comes down to. Your role has fundamentally changed. You're not just a vendor anymore. You're a strategic advisor, you're a change agent, and you're an orchestrator who helps guide companies through one of the biggest technological shifts of our lifetime. So as we wrap this up, I'll leave you with this question to think about for your own process. Of these 4 big conversations, discovery, objection handling, solution storytelling, or pilot planning, which is the one area where getting a little bit better could make the biggest impact for you? Focus there first, and you'll be well on your way. And that's all for this explainer.